The faucet in the back of Carver's barbershop has been dripping since Tuesday. And you're on your knees under the sink with a wrench you've owned longer than your truck. Ray Carver stands over you, apologizing for the third time. He says the landlord should really be paying for this. "I'll bill him," you say. You will not bill him. You are him. Ray pays $640 a month for a shop that should run $1,100 to a management company in Columbus, to an owner nobody in this town has ever met. You give the fitting a last quarter turn. The drip stops. 14 buildings on and around Main Street. The diner, the hardware store, the barber shop, the old opera house with the apartments upstairs. $11.4 million. Give or take, depending on the year. You own basically the view. And you charge $45 for a faucet call. Cash or check. 6:10 a.m. The Lantern Diner. Second stool from the register. Marla has your coffee poured before the bell over the door stops moving. $2.25. She hasn't raised the price in 4 years, and she apologizes about the winter heat bill every time you sit down. You own her building. She has no idea. Marla thinks you're a handyman who does okay. The town thinks you're a handyman who does okay. Your accountant in Columbus thinks you should buy an office and a newer truck, and you think your truck, a 2009 F-150 with 211,000 miles and a bench seat that remembers you, is doing fine. 12 years ago, you were a maintenance supervisor at a distribution center in Circleville, and the county ran a tax auction on a Thursday morning in a hallway that smelled like floor wax. The old Wexler building, brick, 2 storefronts, 4 apartments, a roof nobody loved, went for $26,500. Your bid, nearly your whole savings. You knew the building because you'd fixed its boiler twice for the last owner. That's the part nobody tells you about buildings. The man who fixes the boiler knows more about what a building is worth than the man who owns it, usually. 9 weekends and $11,000 later, the 4 apartments, rented at $410 each. $1,640 a month against a building you owned outright. You stood on that roof in October, new membrane, knees aching, and ran the math twice, because the math seemed to be lying. It wasn't lying. It was just the first time in your life the math had ever been on your side. The hardware block came from an estate. No bank wanted a 90-year-old building in a town of 9,000, so you sat at Adele Wexler's sister's kitchen table and offered her $1,400 a month for 11 years instead of a price, seller financing. Her lawyer wrote it up in an afternoon. She got an income. You got a building. The bank got nothing, which felt, honestly, it felt correct. After the 3rd building, you drove to the county seat and hired an attorney named Eleanor Voss, semi-retired, sharp as a tax bill, and formed Corrigan Property Group, named after the street you grew up on. Every deed since goes through Corrigan. Every check, every notice, every complaint. Eleanor signs. You stay a rumor. 14 buildings in 12 years. You never bought at full price and you never once sold. The rule is simple. Buy the building nobody wants. Fix the roof first. Charge a little less than you could, because an empty storefront costs more than a discount, and a tenant who stays 15 years is the whole business plan. First of the month. Rent day. Checks made out to Corrigan Property Group arrive at a P.O. box in Columbus, get opened by a 2-person office above a title company, and land in an account with your name 3 documents deep. $31,850 this month, before the roofs take their cut. The roofs always take their cut. Ernie Kowalski, 71, has run Main Street Hardware for 34 years. 2 winters ago, his sales fell through the floor, and his rent, mysteriously, fell with them. Corrigan forgave the back rent, he tells people. Never seen anything like it. He tells you this across his own counter while you're buying washers. "Whoever they are," he says, "they're not from around here." You say, "Probably not." At 11, Mrs. Deal in the Opera House Apartments catches you in the stairwell to complain about the landlord. The hallway light's been out for a week. She calls Corrigan those Columbus people the entire time you are replacing the bulb. You apologize on their behalf. You're getting good at apologizing for yourself. Deb Hartline at the county recorder's office has stamped every deed in this county for 22 years. When you file, she looks at you a half-second longer than she needs to. She has seen Eleanor's signature 14 times, and your truck outside the window 14 times. Deb doesn't say anything. Deb is the only one who could. Here's what nobody with a spreadsheet in a city understands. A building in a town like this is priced like a risk and behaves like a friendship. No fund will drive 90 minutes to look at a $140,000 building. No bank wants the appraisal, so a man with cash, patience, and a wrench buys Main Street for less than a house costs in Columbus. Not because it's a secret, because nobody's looking. You could retire somewhere with a beach. The money says so. But the money was never the point, which is a thing you're only allowed to say honestly after the money exists. The point is the block. Lights on, boilers running, 14 roofs that don't leak, a town that works and doesn't know why. The man from Columbus shows up on a Tuesday, pressed khakis, leased Tahoe, a folder full of renderings. Kyle Brandt, Meridian Growth Partners. He spent the spring quietly optioning corners at the north end of town. And now he wants the middle. The middle is you. He stands in the lantern ordering a coffee he doesn't drink and tells Marla this town deserves investment. The renderings show an anchor store, 140 parking spaces, and a chain pharmacy where the Opera House is. Marla's hands go still on the counter. 11 years behind that register. And a lease she believes is with strangers. Wednesday, Kyle finds you fixing the barbershop door. He looks you over, work jacket knuckles, the truck, and offers you $200 to hand out flyers. Local guy like you. People trust you. The flyers say, "Absentee landlords are holding this town back." You look at them for a long moment. You tell him you're pretty busy. You keep one. Meridian's letters start arriving at Corrigan's P.O. Box that same week. Offers on 6 buildings. Aggressive numbers. 30-day windows. The word "final" in the second paragraph of the first letter, which tells you everything about how Kyle negotiates. Eleanor calls at 7 p.m. "They're assembling the block," she says. They think Corrigan's a fund. They think you'll take the spread. Here's the thing about assemblage. A developer doesn't need every building. He needs enough. 6 of 14 gets him the anchor site and the parking. And the rest of the street dies by traffic pattern. Slowly, politely, in about 5 years. You've watched it happen 2 towns over. The diner goes last. The diner always goes last. Thursday, the town council posts a public meeting. Agenda item 3, worded like a shrug. Downtown revitalization proposal. Meridian Growth Partners. The Facebook group has 212 comments by morning. Half the town wants the pharmacy. Half the town wants blood. And all of them are asking the same question now. At the diner, the hardware store, the post office. Who owns Main Street? Ernie says whoever it is had better show up. Mrs. Deal says they won't. Columbus people never do. Marla keeps wiping the same clean counter. And Deb Hartline pulls a folder of deeds 14 thick, sets it on her desk, and looks at it like a crossword she finished years ago and never told anyone about. Friday, you walk the block at closing time, the way you always do. Ray sweeping hair, Ernie's open sign buzzing its one dying letter. The Opera House windows going gold around 6:40. Kyle's Tahoe idles at the corner, and he lifts 2 fingers off the wheel, at you, the wave you give the help. You wave back, pleasant, giving him nothing. The meeting is Tuesday, 7 p.m. In the school gym, Eleanor asks what you want her to prepare. You stand in your kitchen with the flyer flat on the table. Absentee landlords are holding this town back, and read it twice. He's not wrong, you think. He's just aimed at the wrong man. Front row? Eleanor asks. Third row, you say. Aisle. I like to see faces. Part 2 is next week. The gym, the vote, and what 14 deeds sound like when they finally speak. If it were you, take Kyle's number for 6 buildings, or walk into that gym? Tell me below. Subscribe to Ground Floor at Ground Floor Biz. Ground Floor tells true-to-life finance stories for education and entertainment. Nothing here is financial advice.